Today we're going to take a look at how to create color and textural contrast in your landscape. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings. Have you ever wondered how professional garden designers put together color combinations and create perfect textural contrast in their landscape? By the following few principles we're going to talk about today, you can do this yourself. So here we're going to show you a quick visual on how it is done. This here is a copy of the color wheel, and it kind of shows you the rainbow array of colors. Artists and interior designers, as well as garden designers alike, use the same color wheel when they're choosing how to pair the perfect plants together to give them the look that they're looking for in their garden. So here's a few things when we're looking here at this color wheel, things to consider. So first of all, we're going to talk about warm colors. Warm colors, they include shades of red, pink, magenta, orange, gold, and yellow. We're going to also take a look at cool colors, which would include shades of like chartreuse green, blues, purples, and violets. And I'm sure you're already kind of thinking in your head of certain plants or flower colors that are fitting into each of these categories. There's also a neutral color palette, and these neutral colors would include white, silver, tan, dark purple, dark green, and near black. So you're probably thinking, okay, black in flower world. There are some black flowers, but think about more along the lines of the foliage, some of those dark, near black foliage plants. Also, there's harmonious colors, and these are colors that are close in proximity to one another on the color wheel. So those would be colors like, red, orange, or yellow, green, blue, and purple. And then the contrasting colors, those are the ones that are positioned opposite of each other on the color wheel. So for example, think about blue and orange together, or purple and yellow. Those are all examples of contrasting colors. So now let's take a look at how we can use these different color concepts and put them together when designing container combinations or hanging baskets. The first one we're going to look at is the Boost of Energy recipe, and this is a harmonious color palette. The plants that are used in this particular design are the Supertunia Royal Magenta, Supertunia Trailing Rose Veined, and then the Lobellaria Blushing Princess. Magenta and purple, they lay right next to each other on that color wheel, which makes them harmonious colors, also known as related colors. When you use a mix of such colors, the effect is visually unifying, and all of these colors, when put together, they kind of all blend together as one. So for example, this Boost of Energy combination, if you're looking at it from a distance, it's going to all kind of pull to either maybe a pink or a pinkish purple color look. You could get this look using harmonious colors on the color wheel. For example, if you planted like all yellow and orange together, or blues and purples together, or even greens and blues. So it doesn't have to be done with just this one example that we've shown. There's several examples we can show that would just blend these colors that are next to each other to give just a real harmonious look. Another concept or look would be the Summerfest recipe, which is showing you contrasting colors together. The ingredients in this particular combination, we've got the Royal Velvet Supertunia, Super Bells Carolina, and then also the Bidens, the Goldilocks Rocks Bidens. So you can notice how different the purple flowers look in this combination when paired with those contrasting colors. The dark purple, it kind of recedes and sets back into the combination, while the bright yellow Bidens, they just jump when you're looking at them. They really pop in this look. Also the coral, being that it's kind of close to yellow in color, this too creates kind of a nice duo of popping colors in this combination. When you mix together these contrasting colors, it causes you to kind of pause and look at the combination as a whole, like you're separately looking at each of these different plants within the combination. That's one thing that's different when using a contrasting color palette from using a harmonious color palette. You also can create a look which would be using colors to echo one another. So this recipe here, it's called In Our Element, and you can see it's using the Supertunia Vista Fuchsia, the Supertunia Mini Vista White, and then the Superbena Sparkling Rose Verbena. So all of these colors pair well nicely together. Using a color echo is an easy trick for making a beautifully designed combination every time. A color echo means the color of one flower or plant is repeated in several different flower or plants in that same combination. For example, in our element recipe that we've shown on the screen, you'll see the fuchsia pink and the white petunias. They're color echoing to that bicolor pattern in the verbena with the pink and the white. Color echoes can be done many ways. You could match the color of a daylili's eye with a solid color phlox and get kind of that same look. Or you could pair the dark purple of the starred morning star calibrachoa with a solid of a dark purple superbena. And again, you're color pairing, pulling colors of those bicolor plants out with singular solid color plants. The variations are endless and they're so much fun to play around with. And I think if you're nervous about planting containers or combinations, using the color echo method, I think, is one of the most successful methods where you'll feel like when you are done, you'll be happy with the design, because really it takes the least amount of thought, in my opinion. The next thing is textures. And knowing how to pair colors together is important, but it's not the only design element to master if you're going to have a well-designed landscape and container combinations. Texture is also a very critical component, specifically knowing how to pair plants with contrasting textures. So let's take a look at this picture here. You'll see this full shade landscape pairs plants in a neutral color palette of green, chartreuse, silver, there's some white in there, and even a little bit of deep purple. But what really makes the scene dynamic is the mix of the contrasting textures between all of these perennials that are paired together in this garden. So this is more of a shade to part shade garden. So the silver broad heart-shaped Bernera leaves contrast with the narrow yellow bladed grass in the front of this picture. And the really beautiful ferny foliage kind of behind. Pairing the solid chartreuse colored corbels with the patterned Bernera leaves also brings nice contrast, even though both plants have a somewhat, both of the plants have kind of a somewhat broad, flat leaf. The spiky texture and upright structure of the astilbe flowers in the background are a nice contrast to the mounded lungwort and corbels in front of it. Their white color is echoed in the silver Bernera leaves in the front. Though this scene contains a lot of green, there's no two shades of green that are exactly the same, and all of the leaf shapes are just slightly different. Both color and texture elements are used to form this interesting composition in this garden. Now this is a shade example. You could easily do this in the sun as well. But I think for those of you who are shade gardeners, I think you often think that maybe you're getting slighted or cheated out of a beautiful garden space because there's not a ton of flowers that flower in the shade. I mean, there is, but not near as many as what the full sun gardeners get to use in their garden designs. If you look closely, you'll see this perennial combination combines all three principles that we've discussed, contrasting the colors, the color echoes, and the contrasting textures. The Fall in Love Sweetly anemone here in this picture, you can see it's got the beautiful center that's got the yellow pollen-laden centers there, which are echoed with the yellow sedge grass in this garden. Magenta flowers and the chartreuse yellow are great contrasting components on the color wheel, and you can see that they're used here. And the relatively broad leaves of the Japanese anemone contrast nicely with the narrow blades of that strappy sedge grass. Here we have a combination called Brick Road, and it's got a nice mix of kind of many of the components we've looked at. There's warm, harmonious colors, and then also in this combination, you'll see there's a lot of textural interest. So what they used in creating this combination was the Color Blaze Sedona Sunset Coleus, the Rocapoco Tropical Shades Impatiens, along with the Sweet Caroline Red Hawk Sweet Potato Vine, and then mingled in through there also is the Color Blaze Chocolate Drop Coleus. This beautiful combination looks so well designed because it uses all of the principles that we've discussed. Overall, this is a very warm color palette of deep purplish reds and shades of orange. All of these colors are close together on the color wheel, making this a very harmonious color palette. Look at the many different shapes that are in this container recipe as well. We've got broad, flat leaves near the top, pointy maple-shaped leaves throughout, and then the small scallop rounded leaves in the trailing coleus. The impatient flowers are also rounded, kind of echoing the shape of that trailing coleus. By including such a diverse palette of foliage textures, it gives this entire container an energetic feel, and our eyes just linger to take it all in. When you're looking at your favorite container recipes that you're going to grow this year, study them and look at them through the lens of color and texture. Do they include a mix of contrasting and harmonious colors? If your favorites have contrasting colors, make a note to explore more contrasting color combinations for your pots for next year, unless if you're really stuck on your color palette. But just think about different ways that you can create this look with your containers. Is there enough mix? Should you swap out a different plant with a smaller or larger leaf plant for contrast instead? Make a note of that as well. Mastering the use of color and texture and design takes some practice. I mean, we have years and years of practice here. There's trial and there's error. Sometimes things look great, sometimes they don't. But it's just a matter of playing around with plants and creating a look that works for you. Once you have that mastered and you feel like, you know what, you've nailed it, you're going to have containers and landscapes that look like they were designed by a pro. And that pro will be you. If you have any questions or comments on today's video, please feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.